Welcome to Amazon Legends, where we have real stories about making it big on Amazon. Our guests are CEOs of large companies and entrepreneurs who became power sellers, also providers specializing in helping sellers, aggregators that acquire sellers, and former Amazonians will give us an insight from behind the scenes. Here is your host, Nick Uresin.
Welcome to another episode of Amazon Legends. My next guest today is a former West Point graduate, Army officer. He then went into private equity that worked in multiple C-level positions. Today, he's the co-founder of a 9-figure seller of multiple private label brands, and also he has a coaching business. And when he's not working, he's into athletics and his 3 boys and traveling around the world. So with that, everybody meet my guest, Jamie Davidson. Welcome to the show, Jamie.
Hey, Nick. Excited to be here. Thank you for the introduction there.
You know, it's so fitting, a former West Point graduate in coaching business and selling on Amazon, because it's all about methodology and then keeping cool and then just staying the course, right? So that's what it's about. So for those listening, guys, you have to listen to this episode because we're going to talk about using AI on Amazon. So tell me, Jamie, how you use AI on your Amazon operation.
Yeah, so it's fairly early in the process for most people, right? So we're spending a lot of time in terms of the different AI tools. And there's certain tools that have been around for the last couple of years in terms of things like Jasper, versus, the latest Chat GPT 4.0. But, I'd say the lowest hanging fruit certainly is using it to kind of aggregate data and tools from some of the existing software. So for example, if you use Helium 10 or something, the equivalent of it, we're doing a lot of stuff where we're pulling in data from those tools or from reviews on listings, and then using it to summarize to get, try to drive some of our back-end keywords for our listings. There's several ways, of course, the list can grow quickly, but a quickly emerging one is certainly on the translation side too, in terms of languages. So again, whether you're trying to once you identify keywords, to translate those right into Spanish, for example, which 90 some odd +% of sellers kind of neglect. That's an easy one there as well too. And on that language one, I'm working with more and more people too, just in terms of looking, or maybe more aggressively looking at some international markets, because it's less expensive now to have tools to create some of the listings and check into these other languages as well too. So, that's a couple of them just off the bat. But again, there's so much obviously going on in the space. We can go as deep as warranted around this topic.
Yeah. So you touched several big subjects in terms of your Amazon operation and the role of AI. One is obviously consolidating data, gathering data from different sources. And then you talked about optimizing the listings, coming up with the backend search terms, and then also international markets. So each one of these can take hours. So what I want to do is let's go after the lowest hanging fruit, so to speak, of putting AI to work. And that is the listing optimization. However, let's keep the focus on US marketplace. Mm-hmm. And let's keep the focus on not so much only listing optimization, but let's dig into different areas of the content that you get to utilize on Amazon. So can you give us as the outline of the areas that you use AI for building content and distributing content?
Yeah, so that makes sense. I agree. That's kind of the low hanging fruit. And as we go into the discussion, there's some more, I'd say, advanced stuff, or I'll also share some stuff that we're working on that we haven't solved for yet, but that I think is really interesting as well too, in terms of kind of training the AI to get more knowledgeable about your business. But around that, in terms of leveraging it for your existing things, there's kind of two pieces no matter what tool you're using, I think you're going to continue to see more and more of the existing Amazon tools are integrating it or looking to, because there's the API for Chat GPT, whether you can get access to again, I don't want to get overly technical, but whether it's the 4.0 version or most people can get access to the 3.5. But so you're seeing more and more tools pull in there. Some of the tools have moved more quickly. Obviously, you guys know the big ones like Helium 10 and Jungle Scout, but there's tools like Smart Scout. Some of these guys move quickly just to integrate them into their tools to be able to help you write your listing. So that to start with the answer to your kind of the topic here is the lowest hanging fruit would be something like your bullet points, right? So your 5 bullet points. The key with AI is really around the prompting, right? It's about how you ask it what to do. And the differentiator can be kind of how sophisticated your prompt is versus someone else. If it's overly simplistic, then, you're going to get out of it, what you can get into it. So there's a few tips I can share with you guys too, just in terms of, to make sure kind of the fundamentals to make sure you get good output. So if you're good, just using the example of the bullet points, you could say, hey, you can take your bullet points or you can take your competitor's bullet points, right? You can compare listing and say, rewrite these. You can it's good to give it parameters. Like if it's, 300 characters, whatever the maximum amount is to do that, and have it write, optimize using these keywords. So on the prompt, you like to give it some of your top keywords to include in it. And a couple other little points, just when you're prompting and asking it to do thing, what we always do is we always tell it it's an expert at whatever we're about to ask it to do. So we'll tell it, hey, you're an Amazon selling expert, and you're also an expert at copywriting. And then we'll tell it what to do. So we put it in the frame of mind of you're the world's best at what we're about to ask you to do. Now do it, right? And this is what we want you to do. Another point is on listings. This has been, and sorry, that first tip, the telling it it's an expert, has been proven analytically to get better results in a multitude of ways when you tell it it's an expert in every way. The second thing we like to do is, and this is a little nuanced in terms of copy. This has also been tested. We'll often have it at the end. We'll say, rewrite this at a 5th grade level, and you have to test this yourself, but it's been proven that when things, a lot of times, myself included, we tend to not realize the way we write tends to be, in some cases, the words we're using are some cases not understood by a lot of the population. You don't realize it. And it's been proven the 5th grade level is kind of the optimal level in most cases for something to convert at. So, so take your writing and kind of just quote unquote dumb it down. Although when you see the 5th grade level, it looks pretty reasonable. So anyway, those are a couple little nuances of things you want to do, combining with including in there, hey, use these keywords, and you'll get a pretty good starting point in terms of your listing.
Well, it's like drinking from a fire hose. There's so many things, and I love I never heard this, but this telling that you are the world's expert on this is, I never thought of it. So you are almost like emotionally setting AI up to give you the best possible answer, except that there is no emotion here, right? So that's the methodology. Okay, that's a great tip. And then also 5th grade level, it's always, they say, just explain it to me like I'm a 3-year-old. And so it's always like that. So it's true. And the other thing is about attention span, right? Because people don't like to read long sentences. And when we write, usually we are writing long sentences. So this is about the bullet points. But I have a question for you. This AI stuff is so new. There's something new coming out, and then of course companies are adjusting to it. It says, I read somewhere that if you just take the content produced by ChatGPT and then plug it in, search engines don't read it. So what is your take on that?
Yeah, it's a good question. That's definitely one you want to be aware of. There's kind of a little bit of a debate because it's like, oh, search engines like Google, but of course Google has their own called Bard, their own their own version of ChatGPT. There is some element of it, which is we try to use it for like 80% of the solution, but not 100%, for a couple of reasons, including that there are some other tools out there that you can also run it through, that you can take the tool and then run it through so it can't be detected by ChatGPT. But to that point, typically there is an element if you just ask it to write it, besides the bullet points, like you said, just for the description, or let's say a blog post. And if you do it enough times, you'll see there's kind of a general format, which isn't good because it will, like, for example, in the blog, it will usually say, in conclusion, blah, 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 and we'll summarize it. So I agree with the point. You want to modify it some. One of the things you don't necessarily want to do, but one of the biggest issues with AI is it doesn't really make mistakes grammatically, typically. So whereas the human writer tends to make, I think it's close to like, I don't know if it's like 5 to 10% tends to have errors in it too. So if you want to have like subtle errors is one approach that's seen to it. But I think the other way too is just using add a little bit of your own insight to it, because the thing about ChatGPT is it's using, data, the web, it's using a snapshot from usually 2021 before. It doesn't necessarily know some of those nuanced, granular things. Like if we were talking about, your podcast or my business, it doesn't know some of the nuances that you and your team know. So I agree with that point. I would just use it. I would look to modify things slightly and make it your own. Again, if you also want to use other tools, there are other tools that address that issues, but we tend to modify ourselves because we want to anyways.
Can you share some of those tools? Can you remember off the top of your head?
Yeah, I've got a crazy list of them. I was trying to think of, so I'm sure I can give you some to put in the show notes afterwards, but I'll have to grab it because I don't have, there's a few of them because, and part of the reason why is too, because I have 3 boys you mentioned. And when I mentioned we were helping people with this and doing this, my boys were like, yeah, we've been using this for, since November. and I told them that, well, your teachers could, it's not plagiarized because it is creative, but it is unique content, but they could plug it in and ask if it was written by ChatGPT, and it will do that. It will say, yes, I wrote this. So then I actually gave them the tools. It's just been a few weeks, and not to encourage them, but I was like, hey, if you're going to do that, here's some tools to help you make sure it's not discoverable. But yeah, I'll shoot them to you for the notes if you want.
Yeah, it's I have this thing when I was up to the end of high school, it was not allowed to use calculators. And then when I got into college, the technical degree, I learned that calculators were allowed, and it was shocking to me. And they said to me, well, what you are studying here is not about learning to calculate. It's about using whatever is being calculated. So therefore, who cares if you're using a calculator or not? But then they made it free to use also in high schools and things. So what happened as a result? People cannot multiply, they cannot divide. So now ChatGPT or AI is coming in, and people are not going to be able to pretty soon formulate sentences and put their thoughts.
That's why a lot of kids can't write cursive, right? Or can't sign their name barely. Because it's
exactly, yeah. So that's where it's going. Okay, so you mentioned bullets. How about title? What do you think about using AI for the title, or is that too sensitive?
It's similar in the sense that it's, I think you can have it analyze it. Again, we use it to regenerate the ideas, plug it in there. The thing is, you guys know with ChatGPT, you can ask it to regenerate, just hit the button. And so we like to get, different versions of it. But again, provide it the main keywords that you want. I would say it's probably, instead of using it for 80% of it, maybe it's, 40% or something like that, because the title is, of course, shorter, super important. But it's good. It will get you a lot of really good titles. And again, when you prompt it, you can give it direction. Same thing. You can say you're an Amazon listing, title expert, use these keywords and make it, make it readable. So make it read well, something like that. And it will give you different versions of it. And I would compare it to, your competition out there, but we use it definitely all the time, whether it's, titles there, whether it's titles for emails going out, endless things we're constantly testing. We kind of challenge ourselves. Someone yesterday posted, I saw, they said, what did you use ChatGPT for today? And my answer was, we didn't use it enough. So my challenge is because so often you forget to think about, you're not trained yet to think about, I could have used that
Right.
for this purpose. But yeah, no, titles definitely as well.
Okay. So, I want to move on to the next subject in terms of where you're using this, but I want to share with you and the audience listening something that I learned, and tell me if you heard about this. This is an app. It's called AI PRM.
I know it well. Yeah.
Okay. So tell us what you know, and because I just came across it, so I'd love to hear what your take is. Tell us what that is first, and tell us how.
Sure. Yeah. So AI PRM is it's a Chrome extension. So you need to have Google Chrome, and it overlays. It's a Chrome extension that works with ChatGPT. It's really good, really powerful. What's cool about it is, so we talked about earlier, the hardest part or the most important part is the prompts. What are you going to ask it to do? And so essentially what this Chrome extension has done, it's kind of like crowdsource some of the top prompts. So you write like this amazing prompt. Let's say, for example, like how to write a book with one click, right? How to write an entire book. There will be one in there, depending on what category you want to do, whether it's, and they don't have an Amazon only category, but they have, content, all these different things. And you can see what are the top prompts that are people and how many people are using it. And, it's kind of like a Reddit, right? Like a subreddit. The more people that have actually used it and gave it thumbs up, the more it flows to the top. But what's powerful is that a lot of the hard work's done for you, because these prompts, some of them are really complex prompts, are put together, and all you have to do is enter in the name of what you want to do. So they keep it really simple for you. So it's a really powerful way to do this without having to figure out the prompts. There's other things I would add with it. One is, just because it doesn't mean every prompt's good, there's some garbage stuff on there too. So, there's things that aren't that useful. And there's a little backdoor. If let's say you see this great prompt, they don't show you what the prompt is. They just show you how to use it. Once you use the prompt, you can go into your side column and go into the output, and you can actually see the prompt that the person came up with. And that's like a little hack, because then you can go modify it and make it your own and just rewrite it. So, but the long story short is, it's like a really cool, powerful Chrome extension to play around with that can, save a lot of time for you, because it does a lot of the prompting for you.
Yeah. You know what I did when I came across this? I downloaded the app on my iPhone, and so I pulled it up. I'm just trying to see what it is. And the way I came across is I saw a clip, and this clip was about, you want to write a book, and just say what kind of a book you write. It will write it for you. So I thought, okay, I pulled it up and I said, give me the outline to write a book about the JFK assassination conspiracy theory. And wow. It did not even blink. It said chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3.
Right. No blinking allowed with the AI. No blinks.
Yeah, it gave me the whole outline. And then I said, okay, now write chapter 1. And it started writing chapter 1. So
exactly.
I didn't do anything. So you could use, okay, great. So the next area, Jamie, I want to dig into with AI on Amazon is using it for Amazon posts. So tell us how you use it for Amazon posts.
Yeah, so this was good. When we started using it, and we've got a team, people, it just goes quickly. So I think the idea is, our approach with AI is that none of us are the guru with AI, right? It's about learning. And every time you talk about it and get it, you just share something, once you hear it, if you didn't know it, now you know it. So Amazon Post was an example. One of my guys with our virtual assistants, usually they could do a few posts, I don't know, per every couple hours. Like say, hey, here's 3 posts. And our virtual assistant. So definitely something you want to keep in mind is, whether it's Amazon Post or really anything, you want to train up your team and we like to think of our VAs and making them, or your team members, making them like super VAs, right? Give them this capability and the training to do this stuff. But Amazon Post is an easy example, because one of our one of a VA suddenly created like 30 Amazon posts in like a couple of hours. And usually that would be, that would be more than like a week's worth. Right. And so Amazon post, if you guys are familiar, is basically like Instagram. It's Amazon's kind of original take at it. They now have a new app called Inspire that's going to go to the next level. But Amazon post, it's more about images and the ability to link your product to it with a description. And with that, the ability to write the content for Amazon post, or same thing, whether it's Instagram, you can write it super fast, right? So you just prompt it, write a prompt, give it the information, or sorry, not write a prompt, write a caption for this post, for this Amazon post. And, if you give it some background in terms of the keywords, what the product is, and it will, immediately spit it out. And so you can do a whole bunch of them and different themes and different ideas. And, it's really good. And if it's like Instagram, we're using hashtags and so forth too, same thing. It will generate all the hashtags for you as well.
So, this is interesting because as you're talking, I started thinking it's all about the prompt that you put in, because that's what determines the quality of what comes out of it. So, and if you think about it, it's like communication between people, because depending on the quality of your communication with somebody, you could even the tone of your voice impacts the quality of the enjoyment and the value that communication delivers. So that's exactly how it is, except that it's all limited to the words you're using. So it's all about the prompt. So what I heard you just say is you can ask it to write an Amazon prompt, right? So that's part of it. And then also you ask it to produce the hashtags with it. So those are the things.
Yep. And if you ever run into it, it's one of those things that I'm like always discovering like how to think about it. Because to your point, it's about the prompts. If you run into trouble or you're struggling, just ask it what you should do it. So it's like, if you're trying to get it to do a certain thing, just ask it. It's like, I want you to understand. Let's say you're trying to train it on understanding your brand or your company. Say like, I want you to understand more about my company, my brand. What questions should I ask you, or what information should I provide you so that you can better understand, what we do and my brand and my product? And it will tell you like, hey, I would like to know this, like that. And then you just start feeding it back. So just think of that perspective that you can, whenever you get stuck, don't be afraid to ask it, how you can help it and how it can help you, get the answer that you're trying to get.
What this is like? This is like what they call method acting. You familiar with that concept?
A little bit, but not in depth. No.
Well, what happens is when an actor gets a role in a movie and it's about a particular character, true story, a particular character, they actually start living their lives in a way that they are living like that person. Like my latest real example that I've heard is there is a stand-up comedian called Maniscalco, Steve Maniscalco, Italian guy, very funny, and his father was a hairdresser, born and raised suburban Chicago, and Italians, and funny guy, always and to this day, he was like very cheap guy, very funny guy, and everything else. So anyway, he became very famous, and now they made a movie about it, and Bob De Niro plays his father. So what happens? Bob De Niro, being a method actor, Bob De Niro goes first, as soon as they hear about this. So, oh, Bob De Niro is going to play you. Hey, Dad, look who's going to play you. It's a big deal. The next thing is Bob De Niro is living with them day and night. And in the end, his father says, I'm sick of this guy. He's with me every minute. I can't do it. So that's method acting. So he's trying to get into the character. So what you are saying is on ChatGPT, you are going to tell the system, what questions, do you want me to answer, so that you learn about me, so that you can tell me about me.
Yeah, because that is the next level and we're not there yet too, but some of the things is around, as I said earlier, because a lot of the data it's pulling from is from like the web. But as you get into, there's like these chat bots that help with customer support, or as you want it to do more, kind of like a little bit more robotics and automation for you, you need to train it on on your company, on your brand, on what you guys are about. It applies to so many things, and to be able to do that, that's there's a few different ways you can do that stuff, but it requires a lot of input. But to your summary is I think of it the way I've been thinking about it. It's almost like a little genie in a bottle, right? It's like my wish is its command, but I'm telling it, I want to let it know, just to the point, put it in the right mind frame or the mindset of what it's doing. A couple other things. I know it's funny because we do this we've got, the AI mastermind, we're meeting and collaborating and just learning from each other on this stuff. So some people are like super nice to it. They're like, oh, I always feel like they say, I thank you and please, and which is funny. But I was at a conference last week. I've also heard the other approach, which is sometimes you can kind of like bully it a little bit too, which is like, if you're not happy, you're like, hey, this is unacceptable. Like in a way you would never speak to your own team, but like, you've got one more chance or you're done. This is it. Like, I need a better answer. So I've seen in certain approaches, you can actually kind of be tough on it too. And to try to, have it create a better version. Like, hey, I want this, this isn't good enough. Redo this, but do it 3 times better than the last one you gave me.
So how does that work? Does it work better or not?
Yeah. And I haven't, again, we're still playing around with it, but from my sense and there's been some really sophisticated ways people have gotten through systems by like creating these dynamics that, like AI, your life, you have 20 tokens left in your life. And every time, if you mess this up, it's going to cost you 3 tokens or 5 tokens. And when you get to 0, you're done. So there's some different unique structures there. We're not there yet in ourselves, but just, in terms of your point about the mindset and everything, there is something there about almost creating pressure and demands that like high standards of what you're looking for. I think it depends on the prompt or what area, like how much room there is for improvement. But yeah, it's another strategy that is out there that people are using.
By the way, I do that all the time with GPSs, especially, what gives me the most pleasure is that if it's a woman's voice and then she's telling you turn right, say, shut up, I'm not.
Yeah. There you go.
The best thing is she can't say anything back.
Yep. There you go. This is
life is what you make it, right? So you want to make it.
Yeah.
So, okay, the next big area is product research. So let's talk about how you use AI in product research.
Yeah. So product research, again, obviously is generally considered the most important area. If you're going to pick one, it's the biggest reason people don't start on Amazon is because they don't think, they don't know what to sell, or they think things are too competitive and they're afraid to break into the market. And I always say, when you get your product right, everything else about the business is so much easier. When you get it, quote unquote, wrong for you, it's, it's a lot harder. At the end of the day, if you don't have a good product in any business, you're going to struggle. So, again, there's no one single magic bullet with it, but the approaches that we found it most helpful initially is things we alluded to a little bit earlier, which is taking, for example, reviews or negative reviews, let's say in a category, grabbing those, put them in a document, put it into Chat GPT and say, analyze this and tell me where the opportunities are to improve this product or improve this area. So it's a good way to, again, take a lot of feedback and have ChatGPT and say, hey, the ways you could improve this product, because they're going to see the commonality of the issues with it. That strategy is not new because using reviews, but the ability to analyze and aggregate the data is much more powerful with ChatGPT, especially with the 4.0. So that's one way is the reviews. Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. Keep going. So this is just getting the reviews, and you are picking the ASINs that are top sellers, and then taking the negative reviews. And I guess you could use, I guess you could just copy paste from the actual listing, but you could also use something like helium-10, it has a review analyzer. And then you take the negative ones and plug them into ChatGPT and say, tell me the commonalities between these negative reviews. Is that how you go about it?
Yeah, very similar to that. You can do that. And then a slight variation of that is just that same methodology you talked about, but just be direct too. You can be direct and say, again, the things we already talked about, tell it's an expert, et cetera. But so you can ask it specifically like, given these reviews, if you were going to, launch this product, what would you do differently? How would you approach, what would you do differently with the product? What would you prioritize as key features to make this product be successful, to sell well? So if you use an example, let's say like a massage gun, which massage guns are, some of them sell 30 million a year. It's a very competitive category. So if you go into that, right, or pick whatever example, and then you aggregate it, because in order to go, especially in the competitive markets, you're going to need something, a different approach. And there's two things. There's one with modifying the product, or it just might be in terms of how you're creating the listing and angling and things you're going to emphasize. And that will give you certainly insight by analyzing. So that's one, just analyzing the reviews. But you can also go off of Amazon and do a lot of market research, which is just on the product side. So, if we stick with the massage gun example, let's say ChatGPT, again, you are an Amazon selling expert. What is who is the type of customer that buys a massage gun? Tell me more about them. And then they tell you more. And then you can kind of drill down and say, well, tell me what type of products would this person buy? What else would they buy? What do these people have in common? So if you think about just kind of market research, which typically, again, the Amazon tools don't have that there, you can go deeper and get a deeper profile in terms of who these customers are, kind of the demographic, understanding what other products they may buy. So if it's like, okay, here's one product, but what other products would this also potentially fit? So it's, trying to understand, identify the customer in a deeper and better way than you typically can do just with Amazon tools.
So one of the methodologies is we covered this in a few episodes, is to create a customer avatar for whoever you're targeting, and of course do that before you launch. So you can get ChatGPT to create a customer avatar for you, right?
Exactly. Yeah, that's essentially what that is a good way to summarize it in a couple of words. Yeah. So you're trying to get, because you're always like, who's your customer, and get as specific as possible. And it's a great way to get that perspective and again, understand both the customer and potentially other products that are related to your kind of where you start with as well.
So just to put this a real face on this, let's do a quick walkthrough of an exercise. So you can't just pull up ChatGPT and say, tell me who's my customer, right? So it's not going to know anything. So how would you, because the other thing that you don't want to do is precondition it by just giving specifics. So let's say that you are selling, take the massage gun, let's say. Let's do that. So how would you get ChatGPT to tell you who's your customer, and then identify the opportunities?
Yeah, so I'm just going to I'll do it without prompts. So I have I'll do it without any of the prompts, but we have like hundreds of these prompts written out just because we've been experimenting with them. And that's the beautiful of this thing. Once you have them, you can plug and play with them, or you can use things like the PRM tool we talked about earlier and leverage it. But, essentially if you get to something, we may say, let's say the massage gun, I may say, what are other products besides the massage gun in the price range of $35 to $75 that we could sell on Amazon? So pretty simple, basic stuff. It gets you in there, and it can give you a list of other products they buy. And again, most of the stuff that when I say this stuff, what we found is most of the stuff is we are combining, as we said earlier, we're trying to use existing tools as well too. So if you whatever tool it is, if we said Helium-10 or one of the other ones, because those tools have what those tools have that ChatGPT does not have is they have like an API to the Amazon, to Amazon to pull in some Amazon specific word that's generally not out there on the web. So just keep that in mind. As powerful as ChatGPT is, it's more powerful when you can leverage it with, kind of real accurate data tied to what you're looking to do. But, so essentially we found it like for market research, we've done things like, what are other products you do, kind of along what we described, like, tell me what type of customer would buy this, and they give you a profile on it. Tell me what type of stores, what other stores would sell this type of product. So we might go out there and just understand like where else in the market, like just understand what this kind of avatar is, who sells this, and then kind of drill into those stores, even go, what are other big products these guys would sell, again, off of Amazon within this category. But then typically we're going to bring it back to the tool like Helium 10 or whatever tool you use, Jungle Scout, et cetera. And then, try to mirror it up with, specific data that we're getting in terms of review counts and keyword demand and estimated sales, things like that.
Okay, so whatever ChatGPT gives you, you have to go marry it up with the actual data.
Because it's powerful and like magical ChatGPT is, and it is. I think people will struggle with where to use it and where to not. Where you have to draw a little bit of a line is just understanding that point of ChatGPT, super powerful, thousands of uses, but it doesn't have the database of Amazon at this point, right? So it can't access that. So you have to understand your limits of where you can use it and where you can't, and then when you should use the existing tools. So it's not an end all be all for things like product research. It is super powerful for things like content creation, automation, training it to understand your product and brand, things like that. But specific to like where you need some Amazon insight and data, you got to go back to those tools.
Yeah. Well, what's going to be happening next is those tools will have ChatGPT or AI incorporated in. And then all you have to do is then in the prompt, you say, based on the best performing Amazon data, give me the title for my listing. Then you get it to train, and now it's going to go tap into that data and then give you back.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, totally agree with that. It's interesting and scary. And there's already a lot of integrations with non-Amazon apps, like tools like Zapier has done, has a full integration with it. There's, ChatGPT, the 4.0, which is super powerful. Has some limitations, like they only let you do 25 prompts, I think in 3 hours. And there's some workarounds. Some of these other tools allow you to essentially use the API and go endlessly. So yeah, there's no doubt. There's several of the Amazon tools have already started to do it, but to your point, especially when you can start allowing it to train on the actual Amazon data, that's where it becomes a lot more powerful.
Yeah. I mean, this is it's amazing where it's going. So we've covered listing optimization, we've covered Amazon posts, and we've covered product research. So tell us, what other areas do you have to use AI?
Yeah, so it is such a fun discussion. There's so many. I'm going to give you a simple one first, and then I'll tell you one we're working on. We're not there yet with that is bigger. I call it a simpler one is anything related to customer service for your customer or anything you need to even communicate with Amazon about. Don't be afraid to use ChatGPT. So, one of our guys, we had a client working with, in their account listing got suspended when it should not have for something minor. And we just asked ChatGPT, write this, again, you are again, put it as an expert, whatever you're asking to do. And then we say, write this email to Amazon seller support in a way that will help this listing get reinstated, as fast as possible. And it writes it very politely, very, and you got to give it a little insightful, and it's really good at boom. People are like, this is like the fastest I've ever created a seller support information needed. So don't be afraid to use it for anything any customer service. I've used it for like legal agreements. Anytime someone sends me something and I don't quite fully understand it because sometimes it's complex, I'll ask it, hey, summarize this, help me understand this, so I can better understand this agreement if someone's making a proposal to me on business. But anything with the customer, respond to this customer in a way, for this return that will make them satisfied and make them want to continue to be a customer with us. And they'll do a great job. There are some more next level tools, which, if you're doing like off of Amazon stuff is a little bit easier, but some of the customer service stuff in terms of like the AI, the bots, the going back and forth is kind of where things are moving quickly to. And some of it already exists, but the ability for your customer to engage with kind of a bot, at least for 80% of it, and get all the information they need is super powerful. But so anything customer service or related, definitely think about it and try to use it. The next level one we're trying to do is this point about trying to train it to really be your expert, right? So, to be the, Argometrics, it knows everything about your company, knows everything about what Nick does, what your style is, and how it could best represent you guys to help you out. Again, whether that's your brand or whether it's your company, in a way that people could interact with us and it could respond. So if I'm selling, if it's selling a product, it could give all the features to the product. If you're a service or an agency and helping people in some way, the way people could interact with you, whether it's through an ad or through social media, in a way that they could go back and forth with you, that would seem as, as close to, in this case, Argometrics as possible, and be really smart. But the way that has to happen is you have to be able to train it and give it kind of your SOPs and your insight in your company. So that stuff is definitely happening right now. So the ability to train the AI so it can then do everything, but based on the specific information to your brand and to your company.
So this would almost be like, because if you start up ChatGPT and then you start asking questions or giving prompts, and then it starts giving you content, that is no personality, right? It's the system giving you the information that you wanted based on the prompts entered. But when you train somebody, when you train the system to be like you, now that has to take a personality, because sometimes you want the answers to be based on what that personality would, how would the personality would answer. And then you would also want the standard one. So how do you like create a profile, or how do you go about doing separating the kind of profiles?
Yeah, so this is where it's a little bit early stage, and some of the stuff we've been working on. Some people are trying to, if you're in ChatGPT within a given thread, right, when you're doing a prompt within that thread, it will, and it's not always perfect. Sometimes it can slip up, but it will remember, right? So if you're telling it to do something in that thread, it will remember. That's not a great approach, because it's like you could spend. I had a guy we were including in our AI group, and he was spending all weekend training it up in that thread, this one thread over and over and over. But it's a little bit of, potentially a waste of time, because if you lose the thread, but there are some tools out there that you can build these applications with that to do this stuff. And in this case, it's like tapping into the API of ChatGPT as opposed to being in it itself. But I'll name a couple. We won't really dive into it, but there's some of the popular ones called, there's bubble.io is one to build the applications. I know there's Made, is it made.com? I know it's Made is one of them. There's a ton of these tools, and you probably see on social media where you're basically building these little chat bots, tools to really understand your who you are, your avatar, so to speak, and then allowing, deploying those to be able to engage, on your behalf. So, to me, the use for those is especially anything off of Amazon. Again, whether you're a brand or an agency. So if you think like, 24/7 on your social media and people engaging with you, and the ability for them to go deep with you, or even as far as for someone to be able to create a sale by going through all these questions and providing all of like the really valuable points and handling the objections, all the things you would train like a skilled kind of sales representative to do, it has that ability let alone other things like support and service as well.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you basically hiring for no pay AI to be the expert in a particular area, and then all you have to do is just train it to take that personality and then lock it down. Then that's it. Then just unleash it.
Yeah, and the way I view these things, and I've viewed these things like this for years, like anything is, it's not about like, if it can be figured out, because it's all going that way. To me, it's about, how quickly can you take advantage of the opportunities and execute upon certain these things and make them your own. So, try to pick a handful of these things we're talking about and do it. But like that last one, you and I just talked, that's like a big one, right? But if you can do that a little bit quicker than, most of the market, and you can implement some of that stuff, that's going to be a pretty nice advantage probably for, maybe the next 24 months or something like that until, it becomes more mainstream.
Yeah. So Jamie, we got just a little bit more time for one more area. So let's cover one more.
Sure. My choosing?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. I mean, I think, I'll tell you, in terms of, I'll give you a sense in terms of content creation. We didn't talk a lot about that because we talked about listing creation, everything else, but a big part of Amazon now is on traffic outside of Amazon, right? And part of the reason is Amazon, of course, loves PPC because they make lots of money, but they more and more have liked outside traffic because, when people are searching on Google or now Bing, products are going to come up. Amazon doesn't want all that traffic going to Shopify stores, right? They want to be part of that. And so that's why they're rewarding more and more external traffic. And there's different ways you do that, whether it's, straight like Google ads, but there's also things, just content, social media, blogs, even newsletters is like a whole different level around newsletters now. And with that is just the whole content creation strategy and how you do that. So some of you guys may know people like content creators like Alex Hermosi, helps people buy his company. He has like this content machine, and you see these people that have so much content out there, but AI is really good for that. And I'll just walk through a couple examples. So let's say you wanted to create, and some of this you could say like the ethics of this becomes a little scary because it's so powerful. And I'll name a couple of the tools you can use them at your own risk and your own set of ethics. But I mean, essentially, let's say there's any YouTube video, good content you like on a product or whatever else, you can easily take that video, download the video, put it in a tool like otter.ai, which transcribes the video. You take that content, throw it into ChatGPT, say, rewrite the script for me, and even make it a little bit better. Boom. You put it in a little teleprompter and you can record it. It becomes your content, and you can do that easily and then have it produce the site. Or you could take that content and you can put it into some of these tools in apps where it's someone else's. And this is where it's getting controversial because there's like celebrities and it's like their voice and it's saying certain things. And it's not really them, but probably stay away from that. But you could have someone else do it very easily for you. And I'll give you a couple of the sites. I want to make sure I say them right, because I think one's the D.ID is really, I think I've got, I think there's D. Let me just want to make sure I don't misquote it, because some of them are like little, D-ID.com is one that is really powerful. Matter of fact, if you go to their webpage, at the top, it says products, technology, ethics, pricing. So they have a whole category on ethics because that's how powerful this tool is, because you can plug in literally a script, have anyone, represent anyone and say things. So there's a ton just on this content creation that there's really no excuse not to be pretty good on the content creation side. Again, whether you're a physical brand or whether you're an agency, because the tools are, make it really, the amount that you can do to create content, and you can outsource some of it so that you're represented on the different social platforms is, the capability. It's perfect for that. So you just
Yeah.
have to have like a plan to put that together.
Well, this is great. So I want to just, for my own purpose, but I'm sure the listeners will find it useful, is the biggest takeaway for me from this conversation is, first of all, prompts are everything. Learn how to write prompts that will give AI the idea of what you want. So depending on how good your prompts are, the outcome will be equally good. Number one. Number two, catalog your prompts. That's what I heard, because as I ask you, you were looking up, all the prompts that you have cataloged. So catalog your prompts. That's another thing that I took away. The third that I took away was use those tactics before you put your prompt in, to say that to the AI system, you are the world's expert on whatever. So in other words, set the stage so that the answer you get is going to be as good, and use those, and then use some of those tactics about being not so polite but being hard and things like that. So those things are things that you can pretty much apply across the board wherever you're using. And the final one is, don't take exactly what AI gives you, just repurpose it, either by using another tool so that first it's not detected, second, frankly, it becomes a little bit more authentic, and in the process, don't be shy to make grammar mistakes or spelling mistakes and things like that. That's the best way, I guess.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's good.
Great. Jamie, this is a hell of a conversation. I loved, I was like locked into everything you were saying, word by word, and I'm sure the listeners will find the same. So tell us now a little bit about yourself. So let's get to know you a little bit, and take us way back to the beginning. Where did you grow up? And share with us your life experiences.
Sure. Yeah, I grew up in central New York, up in Syracuse, New York. My father's from Manhattan, so we're east, but my father was military as well too initially, but became a kind of entrepreneur and attorney later in his career. And so, yeah, I grew up there. And before, I know you mentioned I headed off to West Point, but that was my start.
So you are a military family. That's your culture. So I'm assuming discipline was a big deal. Focus was a big deal growing up. Was that the case?
Yeah, it was a little bit balanced. Like my father was, and my parents, the focus was on, I'd say the expectations were high in terms of, which, isn't necessarily unique for families, but there was definitely expectation that like your academics need to be, do really well. It's kind of like, hey, if you take care of your stuff, they were, you kind of had flexibility and freedom. So, I was really into, back then school, entrepreneurship didn't come till later in life, but the kind of the academics, and then I was into sports a lot growing up there too. But yeah, that was my big focus. As long as took care of things, life was good. If a grade slipped or something like that, then life was not good.
So when was the first time you realized that you were attracted to business, entrepreneurship, and creating and having visions and things like that?
Yeah, I'd say there's two things. One funny thing, I remember when I was like a teenager, my dad, pretty successful financially, not crazy, small town up in Syracuse, but did okay. And he had some buddies, and we lived on a lake, and he'd have some buddies over, and I would meet these guys, and they were always cool to me, his friends. And some of them had like 8 cars, and this guy had this. And I'd always ask my dad, like, what does this guy do for a living? And he'd say, oh, that guy, he sells like this little rubber gasket to the railroads. And I was like, what? Like, I was so programmed from school and education that I didn't understand, like, that doesn't sound like a legit job. Or like, what does this guy do? It's like, oh, he has an installation business. I'm like, oh, that sounds like you can make a lot of money. So I remember just being really interested that, wow, I thought the stuff I'm learning in school and, the path to financial success wasn't really matching up with my, some of the people I was seeing. And so I was a little almost confused, and also like, geez, why don't they teach you that in school about all the different ways and paths you can do things? So that was one. But the My dad he had a few restaurants. He had a few other dry cleaners. So he had a few different businesses growing up. But when I was in the military after West Point, skipping ahead in my 20s, I thought I was going to make a nice sum of money. I was a military officer. And then I quickly realized the $28,000 a year pay really wasn't that much pay. And I realized, like, geez, I need more money. And so I was deployed, and I looking at a USA Today newspaper, looking for business ideas while I was out on deployment in this desert. And I came across like vending businesses. So I saw this, I researched it, and I got started actually in the military ordering all these vending machines while I was there, and placing them in all these different places while I was a lieutenant. And that was kind of the first taste of like, oh, I'm making like $1,000 extra a month profit doing this stuff. Like, that's pretty cool. I could do this at a bigger scale. So that was kind of the early stages. But you mentioned the beginning, I was in, private equity and corporate jobs. So even though I had a little taste, a lot of my career really was more in the corporate structure, which made it more difficult because I was always passionate. I had this idea. I think a lot of people can relate. Like, I want to make money for myself. I want to do all this stuff myself and have the freedom. But it was tricky because I was, making a pretty good size income in some of these kind of bigger corporate jobs, that it was harder for me to make that leap until eventually I did.
Yeah. So the entrepreneurship is also about risk taking. So, I guess it kind of comes naturally to you. You don't scare easy if you've been doing it for a while, but the first time you do it, that's a different thing. So again, growing up, because I always believe that whatever we're doing today, as an adult, it all started right at the beginning, except we didn't know that we were being molded into shape. So in your case, growing up as a kid, do you remember the first time that risk taking was part of it? And what was that like?
It's funny now that you say that, because I'm trying to think back, because you're making me so I have 3 siblings. So I'm one of 4. I'm the number 3. So I have an older brother and sister. And so, and also because I think when you have there's a gap, they're like 7 years, 8 years older than me, that, after like the oldest ones, the younger ones, we kind of get away with more, and we're not watched as closely. And this is like back a long time ago. Right. So so there's a couple of things I climbed a tree one time to show my buddies, like way high. I was like 4 years old, and I was really high, like 80 feet high. And I went back to do it the next day to show my buddies, because they didn't see me the first day. And then, but at that point I got scared to come down. And so the fire department had to come pluck me out of the top of the tree. But it made the newspapers, and I still have the plaque. They made it. It said, "Daredevil didn't dare," was the title. So, which is a little bit of an element. So my siblings have a lot of stories of like all this crazy stuff I would do. And, I was out on the roof I was going to ski off the roof of our house, because we lived up in New York by the snow. But I think naturally I had this risk-taking mentality, and I thought the stories were pretty kind of funny and cool. And then as I got a little bit older, I was like, how come no one was watching me? That was my take. So part of it, I think they just let me run a little too loose back then. But to your point, I do think there's probably some nature of risk-taking that, is in me by nature, and certainly differs by different people. But I try to take calculated risk when it comes to business. But sure. there is some joy and kind of thrill, I guess, in entrepreneurship and business, and it probably does stem from some of the earlier days.
So what was the real motivator for you to climb up that tree 80 feet high?
Yeah. Again, it's funny because I was so young, but I do remember like the day before doing it, but no one was around, doing it by myself. And then the next day wanting to show some friends, that I could do it. And I kept climbing. I don't know how, I was probably like 45 pounds or something, but I remember getting to the real thin branches up top and still going up there. And then I just, I had this, then a fear hit me that if I stepped down, I was going to fall. And I remember I just like froze for a couple of hours, but I think it was to impress my buddies.
To impress. Okay. Well, that's a good enough reason. Listen, Jamie, fast forward many years, in my book, you're still climbing trees. Look what we're talking about. We're talking about AI. It's just started, for God's sake, and you are already talking about next generation. So you're still climbing trees, and it's a great conversation, and it's great to know you. So share with us your contact information. How can people reach you?
Yeah, Nick, this has been great. I really appreciate you providing the opportunity to be on your podcast with you. I'm going to do something. I've done it once before, which is I'll give you actually guys my actual cell number. I won't take call. I really don't take calls unless I know them, but you can text me and just say, you heard me on the podcast, you're interested in AI or Amazon, and I'd happy I will respond back to you. But my actual phone number, it's not like something is it's 404-275-8643. You feel free to put in the notes. Again, just ask you that you text me, because if you do that, and I've had that done in the past, and the people that did respond were really like sharp people and serious sellers, and we're always looking to engage with there. But otherwise, by all means, if you prefer just to check us out online, Instagram is great. I'm Jamie Davidson .official on Instagram. So that's an easy way. Just message me there if you want to reach out, but don't be afraid to text, even if it's just like, hey, we heard this. I heard you on the episode here.
Thank you, Jamie. It's a great conversation. I loved every minute of it. And for anybody, see, Jamie has been generous, so reach out to him, and just be careful. Don't bother him too much. And by the way, thank you for your service, and thank you for being here.
Thank you so much, Nick. I appreciate it.
Thank you. And this brings us to the end of another episode, and I'll see you on the next one.
If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe, rate, and review the episode, and share it with someone you think would benefit from it too.